Club, and today what we're going to do is we're going to do some cuttings of some lime green coleus, and I'm going to show you how to get your pot filled up first, and which ones are the good ones to cut, and that you'll have the most success with. So I'm just going to use a little 6-pack here, and I'm going to fill it up. And what you have to make sure of in here, I don't know if you can see that really well, it looks kind of dark there, is that I'm just going to fill it up a little bit here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tuck my fingers down, because you have to get your soil right down to the very bottom, because you don't want any air pockets in there. That's not good for little roots that are trying to start. They have to be completely covered in your soil. So I'm just going to tuck in some more here of the soil, and I'm pressing it down but not too tightly, because you don't want your little roots to have to go through cement. You want them to have some soil to go through, but to have a little bit of an easier time. And the soil that I'm using is a soilless mixture. It's a pro, what do you call it? Here we go. It's a pro mix. This one here happens to be for vegetables, because it's the only one that I had. But I use this, and I also put some perlite and some vermiculite in it, because I find that mixture in particular is it's too dense. There's too much peat moss in there, and I think that the roots need to have a little bit more porosity in it. So I'm putting in some perlite and some vermiculite in that. So I've got my my little container here filled up. So, and I've got it right up to the very top there. So I'm just going to show you which ones would be good ones and which ones are not. So when you're doing cuttings, your stems have to be a good thickness, because if they're too thin, they'll just rot. They're not tough enough to take the conditions of trying to root. So these are my lime green coleus, and this guy has 2 shoots coming off of him, because I've taken a cutting off of this little guy already. So, but I can see that I'm going to want to cut this back so that it branches out more. But these guys here, I think, are still too thin for cutting. So I'm going to set that one down, and I'm going to bring this one up, and I'm going to show you this guy here is a lot thicker. I wouldn't take it at the top because it's too thin up there, but it's definitely thick enough down here. So if I can find my, here we go, my knife, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom here and give it a cut. And you want to have a good sharp knife to do this. So I'm just going to clip that off and set the mother plant down. And I've got, let me see if I can get this for you so you can see it well. I've got a bit of a stem here that can root out, but I'm going to take these leaves off as well, because you can't have leaves down in there either, because they will also rot. So we're going to just take those off. Now we've got quite a long stem that's going to be able to root up really well. So in here, I'm going to take my little tool that I have, and I'm just going to poke a little hole down in so that I can get this stem down in there without hurting or damaging the stem itself. And I'm going to do the little tuck in like I usually do, right like that. And so I'm going to do that to all of the 6 spots here that I have. So we're going to look at this one now. Now this one is very good too. it has a stem that's really good to chop off there. So I'm just going to get rid of this little guy on the side here. These guys still have plenty of time to bulk up and everything, and so I'm not worried about taking too much off of these plants. I only had 2 of these plants in the fall, and I overwintered them, and I now have 36 cuttings off of them. This plant is, it's a lime green coleus, and it's also really, really good to put in direct sunlight. I got this when we went over for a trip on the island, on Prince Edward Island, with some friends, and it was in the fall, and so then it wasn't any good to put out at that time, but I got a good buy on it because it was expensive. But anyways, I thought I'm going to give it a try. Well, it overwintered like crazy. It was absolutely excellent, and it's a very, very hardy plant. I don't know if it has a specific name. All I know is it's a lime green coleus, and that lime green coleus, the feature of it is that it is it can go in direct sunlight. So now I'm going to go to another plant here, and this guy is really good. He's got really thick stems there, so I'm going to just give him a little trim and set him aside as well, and get those bottom leaves off of there. Now, I don't know if you saw one of the other videos that I did, but I did take these leaves, these bigger leaves, not these ones, but ones that I did way back when. They were a lot thicker than this, and I did put them, I rooted them, and just one sec. If I can find one of them here. I've never tried that before, but I did do a leaf, and it has rooted. Now, I don't see anything coming up here yet for a stem or a stalk, but it's still nice and healthy, very crisp and everything. So I'm just going to keep it under the lights, and I'm just going to keep hoping and praying that a little plant is going to come out of there. Just something fun to do. I'm always looking for ways to propagate plants. I just love doing this part of it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun doing your seeds, but it's also fun doing other ways to propagate a plant. So here's another guy, and so I'm going to go down to this area down here. Now I'm cutting as close as I can to where the new branches are coming out on this, the mother plant. So, and I'm going to leave all of those leaves on there, because the more leaves that it has, the more energy it can have to get to bulk up again. So I'm going to set that guy up there. And so we're going to just cut these guys off too. And then I'm going to put this in here. So we've got, and always do your tuck in, because you want good contact with your stems or your seeds with the earth that's in there. And so we've just got 2 more to go here, so we're going to do those. And this one's, oh, this one's very nice. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'll take the leaves back there. So I'm going to cut him right down to these leaves here, to the start. There we go. And we'll set him up there. I'm in my basement. I have grow lights down here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 grow lights, and I have a hot box that has grow lights in it. And so I start a lot of seeds, and I try and do cuttings from certain things. My German ivy I overwintered as well, and I have 110 of those now. Last year I sold 120, so sold or used myself. So I just decided that I wasn't going to do quite as many this year because of COVID. And we're not even sure if we're going to have our plant sale yet for the garden club. We're looking into doing maybe a virtual plant sale. We don't know exactly how that's going to work, and we're going to try and do it so that we have direct deposit, e-transfer deposit, so that nobody has to worry about money transactions. So this is the last little guy in here, so I'm going to put him in. And boy, these leaves are big, but they'll be fine. So whenever I start my seeds or my cuttings, I always use a solution of chamomile tea. Not sure if you are familiar with that or not, but chamomile tea is a natural fungicide. So I boil the water and I put a tea bag in. This is a 2-cup container, and I fill it up halfway for 1 cup, and I let it steep for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And then I take the tea bag out and give it a little squeeze, and I'll just put that in my compost over there, and then I just top it up with water. And you can't keep this for very long. I only do as much as I think I'm going to use at one time, because within a day or two it goes cloudy, and I'm not sure if it's all that good for the plants, so I don't keep it. I try and use up everything that I have. And there's always lots of plants around that that need a little bit of a top-up on them, so I don't waste it, I just give it to somebody else. So now I'm going to put this in a little tray that I have over the side here, and I'm going to just let that sit in there for a few minutes while, oops, that's the wrong one. That's the one that I already did do. This one. This is the one we're working on. So I'm going to put him over there to soak up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you ones that I did. This is the 17th of April. And these ones here I did on the 8th of April. So these ones I put in my hot box. What I did was I put a plastic bag and the container inside there. I popped this inside here, and I used my milk jugs, and I cut off all of the plain part of it. I don't use this part here because it's got paper on it, and that'll help to bring mold and stuff in. So I cut these out and put them in strips, and then I use them for tags, and I also use them, sorry about this, I'm going to hang up on that person. It's my son. Anyways, and then I use these to go on the sides so that when you bring this up, you can help try and keep the plastic away from the leaves, because if there's contact, because there's going to be a lot of moisture in here. So if there's contact, excuse me just for a second. Hi Sean, I'm just on the internet, so can you call me back in a little bit? That's okay, I forgot to tell you. Bye-bye. Maybe he'll join us, I don't know. So anyways, I put these on the side so that when I pull the bag up, that hopefully it'll help not have the bag up next to the leaves. So those are the ones I'm going to use for that guy over there. So we're going to take this out, and I always make a tag with the date on it, and I have a record book over here as well that, now I've gotten it wet, but anyways, I have a record. I don't know if you guys can see that very well or not, but what I try and keep track of is I keep track of the date that I started, what it is I start. If it's seedlings or seeds, I put down how many seeds I've got for it, the depth that it requires for the seeds, and whether it likes light or dark. And so then when they come out of the hot box, that's the way that I'll seed them up and everything, and then I put them in little containers that you get from your barbecue chicken and your ham and stuff like that. So I make that my little greenhouse, and then when they start to sprout, then I record what day it was that they started to sprout and how many came up, and then I leave them in there for a few more days so that I can see if it'll germinate a few more seeds in that. I don't like to leave them in too long after they've first sprouted, because they will. There's always a chance of mold, so I like to try and get them out of that hot situation as quick as I can. And then I also keep a record of when I transplant them and how many I transplant and what I transplant them into. It's probably far more than what you guys would like to do, but I do a lot. So, because I do sell some myself, but I also help out the garden club with some transplants and things. So now we're going to get back to this guy, and I'm going to pop this out just to see what the roots look like on here. I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot. Oh, is there ever? Okay. So this was just the 8th of April, so that's not even 10 days ago. And you can see that there's lots of roots here. This is such a hardy variety of a plant. I'm just so excited about this. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set him down, and I'm just going to go behind me to get a little pot. So I've got a pot here that I'm going to transplant it into. So I'm going to knock the rest of this soil in there, and I'm just going to bend down to get some more. Now again, with this one, you're going to want to make sure that you can put some pressure down there so that the soil fills out the whole bottom of it there. Now, I've got it about this full, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it over to one side so that I've got a little bit of a ridge here. And then I'm going to pop this guy in there. And then I'm going to pick up some soil that's down on the bottom here, and I'm just going to tuck that in right there, just to get that up, because we want our soil to be level with the top of the dish, because if it's not, you're going to have a hollow in there that the air is not going to travel over. It'll go over top, not it can't go down in. So we don't want any mold or mildew, mold and stuff to start there. So now we've got it all tucked into its new home, and I'm going to take out the ones that we just cut. They've now sat in there for a few minutes, so they're good and moist. My soil is always damp when I use it, but it's not wet, because you don't want it too darn wet. So now I'm going to take my container that we have, and I'm going to pop that in there. And I've got my tag here, Lime Coleus and April 17th on it. So I'm going to put that in there so that I have my date. I've already recorded it in my book. And now I'm going to just tuck in some of these tall pieces of plastic from my milk jugs. And I'm trying to pull the leaves up so that they're not going to make the contact with the plastic bag. Because anything that's going to cause moisture buildup on the leaves and that, you're going to end up with moldy. It's a little curved on the bottom, so I'll change it around here. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to just take the little bag up. If you go to Home Hardware, this happens to be, I buy them by the box, these bags. And this is either a 10 or a 12 pound size bag. So now I'm going to take it all the way up to the top. And I've got a twist tie there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tuck it around the side here, and I'm going to blow into it to make a big bag, a full bag. That also helps to keep the bag away from the leaves. So there we go. And my little twist tie down here. So now I'm going to just twist tie it. And the box that I'm on right now, that my workbench here, this is my hot box. And it's just a wooden box that my father made years and years ago. He used to have small greenhouse operation. And and there's a fluorescent light in there with the proper light in there for germination. And so now I'm just going to take this little guy and I'm going to put him in the hot box. And I'm not sure how many days it was afterwards that I took them out. It was probably 5 days after this. So probably on the 13th I looked at it again and made sure that if there was any leaves that are getting any mold on them, I picked those off. So that, because you don't want anything to be growing in there other than the germination of the growth of the roots and stuff. So anyway, so I'm going to put that in there in a couple days time, 5 days time. I'm going to check it out. So I'm going to put that down there. And so I'll transplant the rest of these ones in here, these other 5, but not right at the moment, but I will. And I wanted to show something else that I did on one of my other videos that I posted. And I did a cutting of a dahlia. I only had one root that started growing, so I potted it up, and then it started getting really tall. So I thought, I did this in my dad's greenhouse, so I knew it would work. And I'm hoping that it's working now. So I'll get my little pieces of plastic out. I did check it a few days ago and it hadn't rooted yet. So this one here was also on April the 8th. So I'm just going to put my tag down there. But this is just a stem off of the dahlia that was growing. The leaves look pretty healthy looking. They're not limp and that. So I'm going to get my little shovel. Normally I wouldn't take this out of the soil here. I can tell that it's rooted, or that it's just about rooted. Pardon me. So then I would just take this out of the plastic and I just put it under my grow lights. But for the purpose of trying to see if there is roots down there, I am going to pop it out. And hopefully we're going to see some roots down there, and maybe we won't. Well, gosh darn it, there is no roots there yet. But it's still healthy, so it must be doing something in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just pop that back in there. I'm just going to top up the soil around it. And then I'm going to put my tag back in for it. And then I'm going to put it back in the plastic bag. And we'll put it back in the hothouse for a little bit longer. It's still very good. There's no mold coming on the leaves. There was no mold on the soil or anything. So, so I'm not nervous about putting it back into the hot box. Sometimes what I'll do is, if they've been in there for a while and they really haven't rooted, I'll take them out of the hot box. But I will leave the plastic on them, and I'll open the plastic up, but then just fold the top of the bag over so that it's still kind of in a little terrarium, but not in the hot box, because there's a lot of heat in there. So we'll just get these leaves, see if we can get these leaves protected so that they're not against the plastic. There we go. And there's my twist tie. So with this, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw the top of it together. my twist tie and then blowing it. These are too tall to go in my little greenhouses. Oops, I think I lost it there. There we go. So you have to do something different. So this is the method that I use, and it seems to work pretty good for me. So anyways. So I think that's it for today. I'm going to pot up the rest of these, transplant the rest of these little cuttings. I'm going to put this guy back in the hothouse down below me here. And I'm going to try and do this every day, and I'm going to try and do something different every day. Tomorrow I think I'm going to do some, I have some seedlings here that have gotten their second true leaves on them. And they need to get transplanted. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow, is some seedlings and do the transplanting of those. And I'll probably do, I'll also seed up maybe some tomatoes. I still have some tomato seeds here that I'm going to get done. So that's it for today, and thank you very much for watching. And maybe I'll see you again tomorrow morning. I'm not sure what time, because I'm not very good at this yet. This is only our first time on it. So anyways, we'll try and get things organized so that I'm actually on at a certain time, so you'll know what time to come back and see me. So, okay, happy gardening and stay safe. Okay, bye for now.